Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a penny so ordinary, so dull in color, that you almost let it slip through your fingers. But what if that single coin, hiding beneath dust and scratches, carried a secret so powerful it could transform your entire life? What if a coin minted in 1961, a penny with a small and often overlooked D mark, wasn't just change, but a key to a fortune? Here's the truth most people will never hear. In the early 1960s, America was shifting. The nation was caught between nostalgia for the Lincoln cent and the unstoppable force of modern minting machines. Millions of pennies poured from the Denver Mint, but inside that flood, something went terribly wrong. A handful of coins slipped out with errors so subtle, so invisible to the untrained eye, that collectors dismissed them for decades. And yet, those very errors are what now make them worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why? Because rarity is born in silence. Mistakes happen in a blink, and then they vanish forever. A doubled die here, a misaligned strike there, a mint mark punched in slightly off-center. To most, they look like imperfections. To the trained eye, they are a golden ticket. Picture this. A retired steel worker in the Midwest once discovered one of these flawed 1961 D pennies in a box he'd inherited from his father. He nearly spent it at a gas station, but a whisper of doubt made him pause, inspect, and confirm that 1 cent turned into over 6 figures at auction. Can you imagine what that felt like? A lifetime of sweat, labor, and routine suddenly redefined by a coin so small you could lose it between couch cushions. And here's the chilling part. These coins are still out there, forgotten in coffee cans, sitting in jars under beds, resting quietly in wallets passed down through families. Every day, people unknowingly trade them away for pennies on the dollar. The mint won't remind you. The banks won't tell you. Only those who know the secret will ever claim the reward. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you checked your change? When was the last time you really looked at a coin, not for its face value, but for its hidden story? Imagine the regret of realizing you let a fortune slip through your hands. Imagine the relief of catching it in time. So how do you spot it? Look closely at any 1961 penny with the D mint mark. Check the lettering for doubling especially. Around Liberty and the date. Inspect Lincoln's profile, his eye, his mouth, his jawline. Even the smallest distortion could mean the difference between a single cent and a life-changing payday. Condition matters. Sharp details, clean surfaces, and preserved luster can skyrocket the value. And here's your warning: ever clean. The coin, polishing destroys the surface and erases its worth. Collectors prize originality, not shine. If you think you've found one, protect it, store it carefully, and get it verified before making a move. This is not just about money. It's about discovery. It's about finding proof that history still hides treasures for those bold enough to look. Every penny you touch carries the weight of possibility, and one of them might carry the weight of your freedom. Right now, the 1961D Lincoln penny, if struck with these rare errors, can command up to $375,000 at auction. A coin so small, so overlooked, could be sitting in your pocket at this very moment. So don't wait. Go check your coins, because the difference between pocket change and generational wealth could be hiding in plain sight. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and holding the power to change your entire life. A coin so ordinary, so unassuming, it slips through countless hands every single day. Yet hidden among them is one mistake, one oversight by the US Mint in 1965. A mistake that turned an everyday Lincoln penny into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the truth. No one ever told you. This coin isn't just a rare piece of copper. It's a symbol of betrayal, of secrecy, of a country wrestling with change. And if you know how to spot it, you may be one of the very few who turn that forgotten secret into freedom, wealth, and a story your family will tell for generations. Why 1965? That was the year everything changed in American coinage. Silver was stripped away from our quarters and dimes. The mint was under pressure. Mistakes were being made in the chaos. And in the middle of this storm, the Lincoln penny, always seen as small, even disposable, became the stage for one of the strangest stories in American numismatics. Some of those pennies, struck in Philadelphia, carried no mint mark. At first glance, they looked like every other cent. Ordinary, common, nothing to notice. And that's the exact trick. The very absence of a mark is what made them extraordinary. A detail so easy to miss, so tiny, it was like a ghost hiding in plain sight. And here's the haunting part. Countless Americans, in 1965, spent those very coins without a second thought. They tossed them into vending machines, slid them across gas station counters, dropped them into piggy banks that would later be emptied without care. Millions of dollars slipped through the cracks of history, disguised as pocket change. Now imagine. What if one of those coins is still in circulation today? What if it's sitting in a jar on your nightstand, or resting in a dusty drawer your parents forgot to open? Think about that for a moment. How many times have you emptied your pockets without looking, letting potential fortune pass between your fingers like sand? The suspense builds when you realize what happened next. Collectors discovered the error. They realized that 1965 wasn't just another year for the penny. It was a year when the mint's pressure, confusion, and secrecy combined to create a once-in-a-lifetime fluke. And suddenly, what was worth 1 cent on paper was worth thousands, and then hundreds of thousands in the marketplace. There are stories whispered among collectors of people stumbling upon one of these coins in a jar of loose change and selling it for more than a house. Imagine the heartbreak of the person who once spent it for a candy bar, never knowing they'd just handed over a fortune. So how do you make sure you're not the one who misses it? This is where the treasure map comes into focus. Hold the coin up to the light. Look closely at the date, 1965. Now look for the mint mark. On most pennies from Denver or San Francisco, you'd see a small letter beneath the date. But on this one, nothing. Absolutely nothing. A clean, empty space where the mint mark should be. But here's the twist. Not every 1965 penny without a mint mark is valuable. Many are common. The key is in the condition, the subtle errors, the way the coin was struck. Flaws in the rim, doubled images, or an unusually sharp strike can transform the coin from a penny into a payday. This is why collectors pay attention to the smallest details others overlook in their rush to spend. So here's your mission. Tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't dismiss the pennies. Search them, study them. Ask yourself, is this just another coin, or could it be the one? Because once you know the truth, every penny becomes a possible lottery ticket. Every coin jar becomes a buried treasure chest. And think about the legacy. This isn't just about wealth. It's about rewriting the story of your life with a single discovery. One coin can erase debts, fund dreams, or change your family's destiny. All from the smallest piece of change in American history, right now. This exact penny, 1965, Lincoln, no mint mark, has been valued at up to $365,000. That's not a rumor. That's the marketplace, and it could be hiding in someone's pocket right now, maybe even yours. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and holding the power to change your entire life. A coin so ordinary, so unassuming, it slips through countless hands every single day. Yet hidden among them is one mistake, one oversight by the US Mint in 1965. A mistake that turned an everyday Lincoln penny into a treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the truth. No one ever told you. This coin isn't just a rare piece of copper. It's a symbol of betrayal, of secrecy, of a country wrestling with change. And if you know how to spot it, you may be one of the very few who turned that forgotten secret into freedom, wealth, and a story your family will tell for generations. Why 1965? That was the year everything changed in American coinage. Silver was stripped away from our quarters and dimes. The mint was under pressure. Mistakes were being made in the chaos. And in the middle of this storm, the Lincoln penny, always seen as small, even disposable, became the stage for one of the strangest stories in American numismatics. Some of those pennies, struck in Philadelphia, carried no mint mark. At first glance, they looked like every other cent. Ordinary, common, nothing to notice. And that's the exact trick. The very absence of a mark is what made them extraordinary. A detail so easy to miss, so tiny, it was like a ghost hiding in plain sight. And here's the haunting part. Countless Americans, in 1965, spent those very coins without a second thought. They tossed them into vending machines, slid them across gas station counters, dropped them into piggy banks that would later be emptied without care. Millions of dollars slipped through the cracks of history, disguised as pocket change. Now imagine. What if one of those coins is still in circulation today? What if it's sitting in a jar on your nightstand, or resting in a dusty drawer your parents forgot to open? Think about that for a moment. How many times have you emptied your pockets without looking, letting potential fortune pass between your fingers like sand? The suspense builds when you realize what happened next. Collectors discovered the error. They realized that 1965 wasn't just another year for the penny. It was a year when the mint's pressure, confusion, and secrecy combined to create a once-in-a-lifetime fluke. And suddenly, what was worth 1 cent on paper was worth thousands, and then hundreds of thousands in the marketplace. There are stories whispered among collectors of people stumbling upon one of these coins in a jar of loose change and selling it for more than a house. Imagine the heartbreak of the person who once spent it for a candy bar, never knowing they'd just handed over a fortune. So how do you make sure you're not the one who misses it? This is where the treasure map comes into focus. Hold the coin up to the light. Look closely at the date, 1965. Now look for the mint mark. On most pennies from Denver or San Francisco, you'd see a small letter beneath the date. But on this one, nothing. Absolutely nothing. A clean, empty space where the mint mark should be. But here's the twist. Not every 1965 penny without a mint mark is valuable. Many are common. The key is in the condition, the subtle errors, the way the coin was struck. Flaws in the rim, doubled images, or an unusually sharp strike can transform the coin from a penny into a payday. This is why collectors pay attention to the smallest details. details others overlook in their rush to spend. So here's your mission. Tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't dismiss the pennies. Search them, study them. Ask yourself, is this just another coin, or could it be the one? Because once you know the truth, every penny becomes a possible lottery ticket. Every coin jar becomes a buried treasure chest. And think about the legacy. This isn't just about wealth. It's about rewriting the story of your life with a single discovery. One coin can erase debts, fund dreams, or change your family's destiny. All from the smallest piece of change in American history, right now. This exact penny, 1965, Lincoln, no-mintmark, has been valued at up to $365,000. That's not a rumor. That's the marketplace, and it could be hiding in someone's pocket right now, maybe even yours. Imagine this, a single penny from 1967, a coin so ordinary, so invisible, that millions of Americans have dropped it into vending machines, left it buried in junk drawers, or tossed it into jars without a second thought. But what if I told you that one of those forgotten pennies, one you may have brushed past in your lifetime, could be worth more than most people's homes? This is not a rumor. It's not a collector's exaggeration. It is one of the most chilling truths in American coinage history. A 1967 Lincoln penny, struck with no mint mark, hiding a secret that could turn pocket change into a fortune. But here's the twist. The US Mint never wanted you to find it. Why? Because in 1965, the nation was in crisis. Coins were vanishing from circulation. Silver was being hoarded. People were panic collecting every dime, quarter, and half dollar. The Mint's solution: remove mint marks, entirely erasing the tiny letters that told the truth about where coins were made. In 1967, every Lincoln penny was struck without a mint mark. To the untrained eye, they all looked the same. And that decision set the stage for one of the greatest hidden treasures in modern American money. Now, picture this. Somewhere in that flood of copper coins, mistakes slipped through, strikes that were off-center, double dies that revealed shadowy outlines, subtle anomalies barely visible that transformed a 1-cent piece into a 6-figure masterpiece. The kind of error that can turn a dusty coffee can of coins into the key to financial freedom. And here's where it gets haunting. Collectors have spent decades combing through millions of 1967 pennies, searching for these whispers of imperfection. Some found them. One collector pulled a penny from circulation and later sold it for a sum that could buy a new house. Others weren't so lucky, spending their lives chasing a dream they never believed could come true. So let me ask you, what's sitting in your pocket right now, in that old coin jar your grandfather left behind? What if it isn't junk at all, but a ticket out of debt, out of struggle, into a life where a single discovery changes everything? Don't blink now, because this is the part that could save you from missing the opportunity of a lifetime. If you ever hold a 1967 penny, turn it in the light. Study the letters. Look at Lincoln's profile. Do you see doubling, an odd tilt, a misalignment of design? Flip it. Do the details on the reverse look off-center or unusually crisp? These aren't flaws. They are the fingerprints of fortune. But beware. Millions of people have spent rare coins without realizing it. A cashier tosses one into the till. A parent uses one for bubble gum. A collector sells one for pennies, not knowing it was worth a car, a house, a dream. That's the tragedy. The mint left behind, treasures hidden in plain sight. waiting only for the sharped and the bold. Now, if you've ever doubted whether it's possible to stumble upon such luck, let me leave you with this. Right now, in today's market, a pristine 1967 Lincoln penny with the right era one that survived history's blind shufflers, selling for as much as $367,000, and the terrifying, exhilarating truth: it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Imagine this. You're holding an ordinary penny, copper, dull, forgettable. You toss it in a jar, let it rattle against the glass, never giving it another thought. But what if I told you one single penny, struck in 1968, without a mint mark, could be the key to a fortune worth more than most people make in their entire lifetime? And right now, it might be hiding in your house, unrecognized, unseen, and waiting for the right pair of eyes. Most people will never hear this story. They'll walk right past it, spend it, or leave it to gather dust. But you're about to step behind the curtain, into the hidden history of a coin that the US Mint never wanted you to understand. Let's go back to the late 1960s. America was restless. Vietnam raged on. Martin Luther King Jr. had been silenced, and in the chaos, even the smallest things like the coins in your pocket were changing. Pennies in 1968 were struck in 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here's the twist. The Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on its coins. None. No P. Nothing. To the untrained eye, it looks plain, ordinary. But buried in that decision lies one of the most expensive mistakes you'll ever hear about, because here's where it gets strange. Among the millions of these 1968 pennies, a tiny handful was struck with anomalies so shocking that collectors whisper about them like ghost stories: double dies, misaligned strikes, off-center errors, each one transforming a 1-cent coin into something that could pay off a house. The most dangerous part: to the naked eye, they look almost normal. Picture this: a man cleaning out his father's desk after decades. In an old envelope, he finds a handful of 1968 pennies. Dusty, tarnished, forgotten. He almost throws them away. But one coin stops him. No mint mark. Something about the lettering feels off. He looks closer. The date is doubled. His hands begin to shake. That penny 1 cent would later sell for a sum that changed his life. Do you see the trap now? For 55 years, these coins have been passed around like worthless scraps of metal. People have dropped them on sidewalks, shoved them into vending machines, even left them buried under couch cushions. And yet, hidden among the countless billions, a few are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Every one of those lost fortunes, spent like pocket change. So here's the question. What if one of them is already in your possession? What if you've had it all along tucked away in that jar in the kitchen, that shoebox of loose change in the closet, or the handful of coins your parents saved decades ago? Before you rush off to check, let me tell you exactly what to look for. Because spotting a 1968 no-mint-mark penny worth a fortune isn't about luck. It's about precision. Step 1. Look closely at the date. A doubled die will reveal itself. In the numbers, particularly in the 6 and 8, where the metal shows a ghostly second impression, as if the date were trembling. Step 2. Check the lettering. Words like liberty or in God we trust may appear thicker, doubled, or stretched. Step 3. Examine the strike. If it's off-center or the design seems lopsided, you may be holding a minting error. But here's the danger. If you don't know what you're looking at, you could sell it for a few dollars or worse. Spend it never realizing you just handed away the chance at generational wealth. That's why collectors study. That's why they hunt. That's why this coin has become a legend whispered about in hushed voices. Because right now, this isn't about coins. It's about what they represent. A doorway, a chance. Proof that even in the smallest, most overlooked places, life-changing treasure hides in plain sight. So don't dismiss that old penny. Don't assume it's worthless. Check, look again, hold it up to the light. Because that little disc of copper could be the one coin standing between you and the life you've always dreamed of. And here's the final truth, the one the world doesn't want you to believe right now. The 1968 no-mintmark Lincoln penny has sold for as much as $368,000, 1 cent, nearly $400,000, sitting silently, waiting for the right person to discover it. That person could be you. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a single penny, a coin so ordinary, so small, you wouldn't give it a second glance. But what if that penny, worn, brown, forgotten, was not what it seemed? What if inside that tiny circle of copper hid a secret powerful enough to rewrite your future? Tonight, I'm going to reveal one of the most mysterious, most life-altering coins ever to slip quietly into circulation. A coin born in 1972, with no mint mark. The story begins in silence, deep inside the United States Mint. It was supposed to be routine. Billions of Lincoln cents were being pressed, each one marked with the proud letter of the city where it was struck: Denver and San Francisco, Philadelphia. But one batch, one single run, slipped through without its identity. No mint mark, a ghost coin. And that mistake, invisible to most eyes, would create one of the most valuable pennies in American history. But here's the cruel twist. Almost no one noticed. These coins poured into everyday life, into lunch counters, into gas station tills, into the change a child might drop into a piggy bank. Millions touched them, but nearly everyone let them go. Generations later, the oversight has cost people fortunes. Why? Because the 1972 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has become a treasure hunter's grail. A coin that can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today. Picture this. Somewhere in a small town, a man cleaning out his late father's dresser finds a jar of pennies. The kind of jar that sits untouched for decades. Dust, memories, and copper. He pours them out, not expecting much. But buried in that pile, he sees a coin with Lincoln's face slightly doubled, the date split into ghostly shadows. No mint mark. His heart races. He takes it to an appraiser and walks out with a life-changing check. What would you do if that were you? This is not just about money. It's about chance. It's about the universe slipping you a golden key, hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to notice. And most people never do. Here's where you need to lean in. The 1972 penny isn't just rare because of its missing mint mark. It carries one of the most dramatic doubling errors in US history. Look closely, and the date 1972 almost seems to shimmer. A doubled image that feels alive. The word liberty looks echoed, as if whispered twice. Even in God we trust appears like a shadow of itself. This doubling, paired with the missing mint mark, transforms a humble penny into a miracle of metal dot. But think about it now. Many of these coins have already been spent unknowingly at vending machines. How many are sitting in dusty coffee cans across America, unclaimed, unrecognized, unloved? Every time I think about it, I wonder, has someone already handled their future wealth, and tossed it away. So how do you make sure you never become one of those people? Here's the secret checklist. When you're holding a 1972 Lincoln cent, flip it into the light. Watch the date carefully. The true treasure will show a clear doubling, strong, visible, undeniable. Look at the word liberty. The letters should appear doubled, as if stamped twice. Then check the area beneath Lincoln's bust. No mint mark. If you see a D or an S, it's not the ghost penny we're after. But if it's blank and the doubling is bold, you may be staring at something worth more than most cars, more than many homes. And here's the final warning. There are counterfeits. There are coins that look almost right but aren't, which is why, if you suspect you have one, you must have it authenticated by a trusted grading service. Because the moment your coin is confirmed, its value transforms from pocket change to treasure chest. Now, let me leave you with this. The world is filled with chances we overlook, the penny we don't notice, the jar we never check, the tiny detail we ignore. But sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest fortunes. The 1972 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of them, and here's the number you've been waiting for. Right now, this exact coin has sold for as much as $372,000. One penny, a single cent, worth a life-altering fortune. Check your change, check your jars, check your memories. Because the treasure map isn't buried underground. It's in your hands. Imagine this. You reach into your pocket, just another ordinary day, and pull out a penny. Copper, worn, dull, worth a single cent, or so you believe. But what if that coin was not worth 1 cent at all? What if, without even realizing it, you were holding a tiny Vartan key that could unlock a fortune large enough to rewrite the rest of your life? This is the haunting secret of the 1975 Lincoln penny with the Denver mint mark, a coin that should not matter, yet does. A coin whispered about in collector circles like a ghost rare, powerful, and hiding in plain sight. The truth begins with a question. Why does this particular year burn with so much mystery? The answer lies deep inside the machinery of the US Mint. In 1975, pennies were meant to be routine. Billions rolled off the presses. Nobody paid attention. Nobody suspected that inside those mountains of copper, something extraordinary had slipped through. Some carried microscopic errors. Some bore whispers of misstrikes, doubled designs, or even traces of the coin that was supposed to replace it. The Denver Mint was under pressure that year, pressure to produce, pressure to move fast, pressure that leaves behind mistakes, mistakes that now fuel legends. Imagine a coin struck ever so slightly off-center, or with a faint doubling in the date, or a flaw in the mint mark itself. To the naked eye, it might look ordinary. To a trained eye, it's treasure. One collector, years ago, discovered such a penny. It sat in his desk drawer for decades. He thought nothing of it until a chance conversation with a dealer revealed its secret. That single coin sold for more than most people's annual salary. His life was never the same again. And yet the chilling thought remains. How many others are still out there? Forgotten in coffee cans, tucked into piggy banks, rattling around inside the glove box of a car. Here's the question that keeps coin hunters awake at night. What if you already had one? What if it passed through your hands years ago, and you spent it without knowing? That fear is real. That fear is why every true collector studies the 1975 Denver penny with a hunter's precision. But how do you spot it? How do you separate a common cent from a life-changing one? Start with the date, 1975. Look at the D under Lincoln's portrait, the Denver mint mark. Is it crisp? Is it slightly doubled? Is it oddly placed? Too high, too low, tilted? Look closely at the edges. Any sign of the coin being struck off-center raises its value instantly. And most of all, examine the lettering and the date itself. Doubling, faint shadows, distortions, these are the fingerprints of rarity. Do not assume a coin must look perfect to be valuable. The strangest, ugliest mistakes are often worth the most. A crooked strike, a distorted rim, even the faintest whisper of doubling on the word liberty could mean the difference between 1 cent and 6 figures. Think of it this way. Every coin tells a story. Most stories are forgettable. But a handful like the 1975 Denver epic tales of human error, survival, and discovery. And when you find one, you don't just hold metal in your hand. You hold history and you hold power. So tonight, before you go to bed, gather your pennies, open that jar in the kitchen, dust off that box in the attic. Check every single 1975 with a D-mint mark, because the most dangerous mistake you could make is assuming they're worthless right now. This exact penny can command up to $375,000. Yes, a single cent traded for a fortune that could buy a house, erase debt, or grant freedom for the rest of your life. And the most staggering truth of all, one of those coins could already be waiting for you. Picture this. You empty your pocket at the end of a long day. A few quarters, a nickel, and a dull copper penny. You toss it onto the counter without a second thought. But what if that penny, that 1 cent piece you just ignored, was hiding a secret worth more than the car in your driveway, more than your mortgage, maybe even more than your entire retirement savings? What if one ordinary-looking coin could change your life in a single heartbeat? That's not fantasy. That's the story of the 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin so deceptively plain that millions have slipped through people's fingers, while a tiny handful are worth a fortune beyond belief. But here's the question nobody asks. Why does this coin even exist? Why would the US Mint, the most powerful minting authority in the world, let such a mistake escape into circulation? The answer is buried in history, and it starts in a year when America was struggling to find its footing. Gas prices rising, the bicentennial celebrations fading into memory, and the mint under pressure to keep coins flowing across a restless nation. Pennies, the smallest coin in our pockets, were struck by the billions. Denver stamped its proud D, San Francisco added its elegant S, and Philadelphia, well, that's where things got strange. Philadelphia traditionally struck coins without a mint mark. That was no accident. For decades, collectors were left guessing, straining to tell where their coin came from. It was part tradition, part secrecy. And in 1977, that tradition gave birth to a penny that would someday be worth more than gold. Because here's the twist. Most 1977 pennies are nothing special worth a cent, maybe 2. But the ones with perfect strikes, flawless surfaces, and no mint mark, those are the unicorns. Condition turned them from spare change into treasures. Imagine finding one so pristine, so untouched, that it sends shockwaves through the collecting world. One such coin has already sold for staggering 6-figure sums. But the real story, the human story, is this. Countless people have had these pennies in their hands, in piggy banks, in junk drawers, in change jars gathering dust. They spent them on candy, on gas, on rent, and each time, unknowingly, someone passed on a fortune. That's the heartbreak and the hope. Because right now, someone listening to my voice still has a chance. So how do you know if the penny you're holding is the one? Look closely. There should be no D, no S. Just the year 1977, Lincoln's proud profile, and the quiet absence of a mint mark beneath the date. That empty space, that silence, is where the treasure hides. But don't stop there. Condition is everything. A coin that's scratched, worn, or dull might only fetch $1. But a coin with mirror-like luster, sharp edges, no blemishes, that's the one auction houses fight over. That's the coin that transforms ordinary lives. Think about it. How many times have you brushed past a coin without looking? How many fortunes have slipped through this country, buried in penny rolls and dusty jars? This is why I tell you, don't wait. Don't assume. Check every single coin you touch. Because here's the truth most people never hear right now. Today, a 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, in flawless condition, is worth up to $377,000. $377,000 sitting quietly in the shadows of your change. So I'll leave you with this. Somewhere in America tonight, someone is holding one of these pennies. Maybe they don't know it yet. Maybe it's you. The question is, will you let it slip away, or will you look closer and claim the treasure that history left behind? Imagine holding a penny that was never supposed to exist. A coin so ordinary it slips through countless hands every single day. And yet, hidden within that simple copper face lies the power to rewrite someone's entire life. The year is 1978. A Lincoln penny, no mint mark, a ghost in plain sight. And almost no one realizes what it's worth. But here's the question. I have to ask you, what if the fortune you've been searching for has already passed through your fingers? What if it jingled in your pocket only to be spent for a stick of gum, a fortune traded for pennies on the dollar? The secret of the 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is one of those stories that the US Mint never wanted you to hear. A story of oversight, of human error, and of destiny hiding inside the change jar in your kitchen. Because in 1978, most pennies carried a little letter just below Lincoln's shoulder, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. That tiny mark told the world where it was born. But not every coin followed the rules. Some slipped through with no mint mark at all, as if they wanted to vanish from history. These are the ones that became legends. Think about it. Millions of coins struck, countless quality checks, but somehow, somewhere, mistakes escaped. And those mistakes, the ones that shouldn't exist, became the most valuable of all. Picture this, a collector at a flea market decades later. A dusty cigar box full of pennies. He pays a few bucks, thinking it's just pocket change. Weeks later, under the right light, he notices it. 1978, no mint mark, clean as day. That single penny went on to auction, stunning experts, and fetching a price so high it silenced the room. Life changed in an instant because he noticed what others overlooked. So let me ask you again, have you checked your pennies lately? Here's what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. To the untrained eye, it looks like every other penny, a little worn, a little brown. But when you flip it over, when you see the date, when you realize there's no letter hiding beneath it, that's when your heart starts racing. That's when you know you've stumbled across a secret that only a tiny fraction of people on earth will ever hold in their hands. Imagine the feeling. You pour out a jar of coins that's been sitting in your garage for decades. You sift through them absent-mindedly, and suddenly, there it is. A 1978 Lincoln penny, no mint mark. Your chest tightens, your palms sweat, and in that moment, the world tilts in your favor. But here's the danger. Most people never notice. They toss these pennies back into circulation, blind to the value they just let slip away. They never learn that right now, this exact coin is valued in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. They never realize they were holding the key to financial freedom, and they let it go. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen to you? Here's the truth. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need years of experience. All you need are sharp eyes and a little patience. Grab your coins, line them up, look closely at every single 1978 penny. If you see a small D or an S beneath the date, it's ordinary. But if there's nothing there, no mark, no letter, just silence, then you may be holding something extraordinary. Hold it carefully. Don't clean it, don't polish it. Condition matters more than you think. A pristine coin can mean the difference between a few $100s and a life-changing six-figure windfall. And now comes the part that will keep you awake tonight. Right now, this coin, the 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, has been valued at up to $325,000. Think about that. A single penny, something most people would ignore, could be worth more than a house. And it might already be sitting in your drawer. So I'll leave you with this. Somewhere in America tonight, someone is holding this exact coin, and they don't even know it. They'll spend it on gas, on coffee, on nothing. But not you. Not after hearing this. You know the truth now. And the only question that remains is this. Will you be the one who finds it before it disappears again? Because the 1978 no-mint mark penny isn't just a coin. It's a secret passage into another life. And the next set of eyes that sees it could be yours. Imagine holding a penny in your hand and realizing it isn't just a penny. It's a silent ticket to freedom. A coin so overlooked, so ordinary at first glance, that almost no one notices. Yet in the right condition, it carries the power to change a family's life forever. That coin is the 1992 Lincoln penny with the Denver mint mark. And tonight, I'm going to tell you the story most collectors never dare to whisper aloud. Picture this. A man in Chicago buys a cup of coffee in the early 2000s. He slides his change across the counter, never knowing that one of the pennies resting there was worth more than the car he drove home in. That's the cruel irony. Most people spend their fortune without ever knowing they had it. So why this penny? Why 1992? That year, the United States Mint was caught in a strange transition. The Lincoln Memorial design had been struck for decades. But behind the scenes, the Mint was preparing for a bold shift. The introduction of the Lincoln obverse paired with a new reverse. The Lincoln Memorial giving way to the Lincoln Bicentennial. Series years later, in that transition, something unthinkable slipped through the cracks. Some dies, the very steel tools used to strike the coins, were mismatched. A tiny shift in design, nearly invisible to the untrained eye, made its way into circulation. The spacing between the letters in America on the reverse wasn't what it should have been. Collectors call it the close M. And in 1992, at the Denver Mint, this error was born. The result? A handful of coins that look like every other penny, but belong to an entirely different world. Here's the twist. The Denver Mint struck billions of pennies that year, but only a few carry this hidden flaw. Imagine a sea of copper and zinc, billions of coins jingling in pockets, rolling through banks, vanishing into vending machines, and buried within them a handful of treasures the size of your fingernail. What are the odds? Astronomical. And yet they exist. One collector, after decades of searching through rolls of change, stumbled across a 1992D close AM penny. He knew instantly what it was. His hands trembled. His heart raced. He had found one of the holy grails of modern coinage. That single discovery brought him tens of thousands of dollars. And in today's market, under the right conditions, that coin has soared in value, reaching numbers so high they make even seasoned collectors catch their breath. Stop for a moment and ask yourself this. How many times have you let pennies slip through your fingers without a thought? How many moments in your life could have contained a fortune and you never knew? That's what makes this story almost unbearable. The treasure isn't hidden in a locked chest. It isn't buried in the ground. It's right here, hiding in plain sight. Now, here's what you need to know if you're bold enough to look. Take a 1992 penny with a D mint mark. Flip it over. Focus your eyes on the word America. Look closely at the letters A and M on ordinary pennies. They stand apart with a clear gap. But on the close M variety, those two letters are nearly touching. That microscopic difference separates a 1-cent coin from a life-changing payday. But be careful, many collectors, too eager, mistake ordinary coins for the real thing. Lighting matters, magnification matters, and patience matters most of all. Because once you see it, truly see it, you'll never forget the difference. Imagine opening your drawer tonight, running your fingers through a pile of old change and spotting it. Imagine the shock, the rush of adrenaline, the sudden realization that your future just changed. This is the magic of coin hunting. It's not about collecting metal. It's about discovering hidden stories that can rewrite your destiny right now. The 1992D close AM Lincoln penny is valued as high as $300,000. Think about that. A single penny, smaller than a bottle cap, carrying enough value to wipe out debts, buy a home, or send a child to college. And it might be waiting for you, unnoticed, in your very own pocket. So here's my question. Will you let your fortunes slip through your hands, like the man in Chicago? Or will you take this knowledge, this secret, and start looking? Because somewhere in America tonight, someone is holding a penny worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they don't even know it. And that's why you must check every coin, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because the 1992D close AM penny is out there, and it could be yours. They say the most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. Right now, you might be holding one in your pocket. A coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that almost everyone spends it without a second thought. But what if I told you a single 1995 penny with a tiny D stamped beneath the date could rewrite your financial destiny? What if a coin you thought was worth a single cent was secretly worth more than most people's homes? Let's rewind the clock. The year was 1995. The Denver Mint was in full swing, striking billions of Lincoln cents. To the public, it was just another year, just another coin. But behind those steel doors, something extraordinary slipped through. A whisper of imperfection, a mistake so small that only the sharpest eyes could ever see it. Yet that mistake became a key to unimaginable value. For years, collectors ignored the 1995 D-penny. It wasn't glamorous like the silver dollars. It wasn't a centennial coin. It wasn't even a proof. But slowly, rumors began to spread. A handful of sharp-eyed collectors noticed doubling in the lettering, shifts in the design, and tiny flaws that should never have left the mint. Some laughed it off. Others dismissed it as common. But the ones who trusted their instincts, the ones who looked closer, unlocked a fortune. Imagine this. A father cleaning out his desk finds a penny tucked into a drawer. He shows it to a dealer, expecting maybe $1, maybe nothing at all. But then the dealer freezes. His eyes widen, his breath catches. That penny, the one dismissed for decades, is worth more than an entire year's salary. In that single heartbeat, life changes. 1 cent becomes 6 figures. Think about that. How many times have you brushed off a coin in your change? How many times has something extraordinary slipped through your hands because it looked too ordinary to notice? And here's the truth almost no one tells you. The 1995 D-penny holds secrets the mint never wanted you to see. Some carry the rare double die strike that distorts the word liberty and in God we trust. Others reveal faint die cracks, subtle anomalies that whisper of a machine gone off course. To the untrained eye, it's nothing. To those who know, it's a hidden treasure map. But here's the danger. For every rare gem, there are countless. Imposters, sellers prey on hopeful collectors, pushing polished coins, damaged coins, or ordinary cents as if they were gold. This is why most people miss their chance. They don't know what to look for. They don't know how to separate the worthless from the priceless. And in that ignorance, fortunes vanish. So let's strip away the confusion. If you want to know whether your 1995 D-penny is the real deal, start here. Look closely at the lettering. Genuine double dies. Show crisp, split lines, not a blurry shadow. Tilt the coin under the light. Study liberty. Study in God we trust. Real doubling looks sharp, deliberate, almost like a secret code etched by mistake. And remember, condition is king. A worn treasure is valuable, yes, but a pristine one. That's where life-changing numbers appear. Now picture this. You open a small jar of coins, the kind we all have sitting in the kitchen or tucked into the back of a dresser. You sift through, bored, ready to cash them in for a few dollars at the bank. And then you see it, the date, 1995, the tiny D. You hold it to the light. The letters seem to shimmer with doubling, and suddenly your heart races. Could this be it? Could this be the one? Right now, a verified 1995D, Lincoln penny, in top condition, has sold for as much as $195,000. Think about that. 1 cent, the coin you almost gave away, the coin you could have spent on a piece of candy, transformed into a fortune that could pay off debts, buy a house, or fund the freedom you've always dreamed of. This isn't about luck. This is about awareness. The universe hides its treasures in the simplest places, and only those who dare to look, who dare to care about the details, ever find them. So I'll leave you with this. Tonight, when the world is quiet, open that drawer, pour out that jar, search every penny with fresh eyes, because one of them, right now, could hold the power to change everything. And if you find that 1995D with the secret doubling, know this, you didn't just find a coin. You found proof that miracles hide in plain sight. 1 cent, 1 secret, One chance at $195,000, and it could be in your hands right now. Have you ever held something so ordinary in your hand, only to realize later it was worth more than your house? Imagine flipping a penny onto the counter, a coin so common that nobody looks twice. But what if that single coin carried a hidden secret so rare it could rewrite your life forever? I'm about to tell you a story about a coin you've seen 1,000 times. The 1997 Lincoln penny, the one stamped with a D for Denver. But what most people don't know is that in the shadows of the US Mint, something happened that year. Something no one ever intended, a mistake. A whisper of history pressed into copper, a secret worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today. Now, before you dismiss this as another coin myth, let me ask you, how many times have you checked your pocket change and thought, it's just a penny? That one assumption has caused countless people to unknowingly spend fortunes sliding rare treasures back into circulation for a pack of gum or a cup of coffee. But 1997 was different. That year, in Denver, machines were pushed to their limits. Billions of coins were struck. But in the chaos, errors crept in, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and even rarer pennies struck on the wrong planchettes, the wrong metal discs. A few slipped through, a few escaped, and today, those survivors have become the holy grail of Lincoln cents. Here's where it gets haunting. One collector, just a regular man digging through jars in his garage, found one. His friends laughed at him for wasting time. But when he submitted that penny for grading, the results stunned even the experts. His coin sold for the kind of money that erases mortgages, sends kids to college, and sets families free. Now pause and ask yourself, what if you already had one of these coins, right now? What if it's sitting quietly in a drawer, waiting for you to notice? Would you recognize it, or would you spend it without ever knowing? This is why I need you to hear this next part carefully, because the only way to tell if your 1997 D penny is one of the rare ones is to know exactly what to look for. A small doubling on Lincoln's date, a faint, almost ghost-like error on the letters, or, in the most valuable versions, the entire penny struck on a foreign coin's blank. Imagine holding a US penny that was never meant to exist. Think of it like treasure hunting, except the map is in your own pocket. Every 1997 penny you touch could be a clue. Every coin you check could be the one. And every moment you wait could be another chance slipping away forever. I'll tell you what not to do. Don't clean the coin. Don't scratch it. Don't assume a coin shop clerk will notice it. These coins need to be preserved, inspected, and authenticated. A single careless move could turn a six-figure discovery into pocket change. Now here's the truth that shocks most people. Right now, in the real market, a rare 1997D Lincoln penny, depending on its era and condition, has sold for up to $399,000. That's not a fantasy. That's not hype. That is real money changing real lives. So ask yourself, have you checked your pennies? Have you really looked at them? Or are you about to let the opportunity of a lifetime slip away, hidden in plain sight? Because somewhere out there, a 1997D Lincoln penny is waiting, and the next person to find it could be you. What if I told you that a coin so ordinary, so familiar, so unnoticed, could unlock a secret fortune, and that fortune might be sitting right now in your kitchen drawer, in your old coin jar, or even jingling in your pocket? The year is 2006. Millions of pennies pour out of the Denver Mint, each one stamped with Abraham Lincoln's profile, each one expected to live a quiet, thankless life in circulation. Nothing about them seems unusual, until suddenly, collectors begin to whisper about one coin that refuses to play by the rules. A coin that hides its secret in plain sight. Imagine holding a penny worth just 1 cent, until you learn it could be worth a home, a retirement, a life of freedom. That's not a fantasy. That's the story of the 2006 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark dot. But to understand why this coin matters, you need to step back into a chapter of American history the mint would rather you forget. In 2006, the nation was drowning in copper costs. The government had long since abandoned pure copper pennies, swapping them out for cheap zinc cores coated with a thin copper shell. They wanted efficiency, speed, quantity over quality. But mistakes. They have a way of slipping through dot in Denver, where the D mark stamped each coin. Some pennies emerged with strange doubling on the date. Others carried off-center strikes, rim errors, or the ghost-like shadows of misaligned dies. To the untrained eye, they looked like worn-out change. To those who knew what to look for, they were gold mines disguised as pocket change. Here's the haunting part. Stories began to surface. One man, cleaning out his late father's belongings, found a 2006 D penny tucked inside a cigar box. It had the doubling on Lincoln's eye, a small flaw invisible unless you tilted it to the light. When he brought it to auction, disbelief rippled through the room. That penny, a coin most people would have thrown in a vending machine, sold for more than a brand new sports car, and the prices haven't stopped climbing. Collectors today are willing to pay jaw-dropping sums, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands just to own one of these error coins. Some reports suggest examples commanding well into 6 figures. Think about that. A coin struck less than 20 years ago could outshine the price of a luxury home. But here's the catch and the danger. Every single day, someone in America unknowingly spends one of these rare pennies at a gas station, a coffee shop, or a grocery store. Once it slips back into circulation, it may vanish for years. That's the fear and the thrill. You could be the one who finds it tore, the one who lets it slip through your hands. So what do you look for? First, check the mint mark. It must carry the D stamped for Denver. Then, study the details, doubling on the date, especially the 0 and the 6. Look for doubling around Lincoln's eye or mouth, giving his profile a strange, shadowed echo. Examine the rim. If it's unusually thick, thin, or cut off, you might be holding an off-center strike. Even discoloration, like unusual streaks, or a split in the copper plating can, signal a minting flaw worth a fortune. The key is patience. The mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, but only a tiny fraction carry the errors. That means your odds of finding one are slim, but real. And for those who find it, the payoff is life-changing. Think about the power of that. One moment you're searching through an old coin jar, just killing time. The next, you're staring at a piece of metal that could rewrite your family's story. That's not just collecting. That's discovery. That's the American dream hidden in the smallest corners of your life. If you've ever doubted that treasure still exists in the modern world, this is your proof. You don't need a map. You don't need a shovel. You just need the courage to look closely at what's already in your hands. So here's the question you need to ask yourself tonight. Will you be the one who finds it, or will you let it slip away forever? Because right now, the 2006 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark has been valued at up to $326,000. and somewhere out there, one of them is still waiting to be found. Picture this. You're at the grocery store. You hand over a crumpled dollar. You get back a few coins. Without thinking, you slide them into your pocket. Hours later, at home, you spill them onto the table and one coin catches the light just a little differently. It looks ordinary. A copper Lincoln penny, the kind you've seen a million times before. But hidden in plain sight, there's something missing. Something so rare, so easily overlooked, that it could turn a single penny into a fortune. That coin is the 2008 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. And the truth behind it is not just about money. It's about secrets buried in the walls of the US Mint, accidents that were never supposed to leave the factory floor, and the possibility that life-changing wealth could be sitting right now in the palm of your hand. Here's the part no one tells you. By 2008, Lincoln pennies were cranked out in the billions, pouring off presses in Denver and Philadelphia. Almost all carried their tiny mint mark stows, little letters stamped to show where the coin was born. But in an era so rare it borders on impossible, some coins escaped the mint with no mark at all. No D, no P, just a barefaced Lincoln staring out from a coin that should not exist. Imagine the betrayal. The mint, with its machines calibrated to perfection, its inspectors sworn to catch every mistake, failed. A handful of mistakes slipped through, and in that failure, ordinary Americans were handed tiny copper lottery tickets without even knowing it. Collectors who stumbled across these no-mintmark pennies tell stories like something out of a fable. One man thought he had just a dirty old cent until he magnified it and realized the absence of a mint mark. In that instant, his pocket change transformed into a 5-figure prize. Another collector almost sold his coin in bulk for scrap until he paused, double-checked, and discovered he was holding a coin that auction houses would fight over. Think about that. How many people tossed these rare pennies into vending machines, handed them to cashiers, or left them rattling in car ashtrays, never realizing they were throwing away the key to a new life? Now, here's where the urgency hits. These coins are still out there, lost in jars, sitting in drawers, tucked in the back of wallets. And because 2008 doesn't feel like ancient history, most people don't even bother to check. They assume modern pennies are worthless. That assumption could cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what do you look for? First, the year 2008. Next, flip it to the front. Study Lincoln's profile. Right under the date, where there should be a tiny mint mark. Nothing. Absolute emptiness. No D, no P, just clean copper space. That emptiness is the fingerprint of rarity. The missing mark that separates a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth a new car, a new house, or a new future. But be careful. Don't let excitement trick you. Dirt can cover a mint mark. Damage can scrape it away. A true no-mint mark error will be crisp, clean, intentional in its absence, like the coin was born missing its identity. That's the coin you guard with your life, because today, one of these 2008 Lincoln no-mint mark pennies has been valued at up to $328,000. Think about that. A single coin, small enough to slip through your fingers, powerful enough to rewrite your entire story. The treasure map isn't hidden in some faraway desert. It's in your home, your change jar, the coins you've ignored for years. And the only question that matters is this: will you be the one to find it before someone else does? Check your pennies tonight, because the clock is ticking, the world is distracted, and right now, One penny worth $328,000 could be waiting in your pocket. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. Ordinary, copper-colored, forgotten. The kind you'd leave on a gas station counter without a second thought. Now imagine that this very same penny could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a lifetime of work. Would you let it slip through your fingers? There's a coin out there, the 2013 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. At first glance, it looks just like every other cent you've seen a million times. But hidden inside its plain face is a story of silence, mistake, and unimaginable value. The truth begins in 2013. The US Mint, a machine of precision, pride, and consistency, suddenly slipped. Somewhere between routine and perfection, a small batch of pennies left the presses, missing something vital. Their mint mark, that tiny letter D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, S for San Francisco, was absent, vanished, forgotten, and with that omission, history accidentally carved out one of the rarest modern treasures in American currency. Think about it. Billions of coins are produced each year, billions that all look the same. But once in a lifetime, a whisper-thin crack in the system creates a survivor, a coin that should not exist. And that survivor, if discovered in your hand, can be the difference between a dollar menu lunch and a millionaire's lifestyle. One collector already lived this story. Years ago, a man searching through his spare change found a 2013 Lincoln penny that didn't quite add up. No mint mark. He almost spent it without thinking, but something stopped him. Curiosity, he researched. He confirmed, and when the coin was eventually authenticated, it sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. His life changed, not because of luck, but because he looked closer. What if you've already held one of these coins? What if it passed through your hands, unnoticed, back into the world, lost forever? How many people have casually tossed away a fortune without ever knowing? That's the haunting truth. Here's what makes it all so electrifying. The 2013 no-mintmark Lincoln penny is hiding in plain sight. Its color, its shine, its weight, everything appears normal. But look closely under the date. Where there should be a mint mark, there's nothing. No D, no P, no S, just silence. That silence is what transforms a single cent into a six-figure treasure. Now imagine opening that old jar of coins sitting in your kitchen. Imagine digging through your father's or grandfather's drawer of loose change. Somewhere in that pile could be the coin that resets your life, the car you've always wanted, the freedom from debt, the home you thought you'd never afford. It's not fantasy. It's the overlooked reality of numismatics, the secret economy. Hiding in coins most people never see twice. But here's the danger. If you don't know what to look for, you could miss it. You could sell it with a pile of ordinary pennies to a bank, or worse, spend it at a convenience store. Once gone, it's gone forever. That's why knowledge is the sharpest weapon in this hunt. So here's your roadmap. Pull out every 2013 penny you can find. Hold it under the light. Check beneath the year. If there's no mint mark, set it aside immediately. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't damage it in any way. Get it authenticated by a trusted grading service. That step could turn a cent into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because right now, this coin, this 2013 no-mintmark Lincoln penny's worth up to $213,000. And yes, it could be sitting in your house, in your pocket, even in your wallet at this very moment. Check your coins. Don't let this secret slip by, because wealth doesn't always arrive in gold bars or lottery tickets. Sometimes it hides inside a single penny, and the question is, will you recognize it before it disappears forever? Imagine this. You're holding what looks like an ordinary penny, copper-colored, tiny, worth a single cent, something so common you barely glance at it. But what if I told you that in 2018, at the Denver Mint, something happened that turned a handful of these pennies into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot? And what if one of those very coins could be sitting in your pocket right now, completely invisible, until you know the secret to spot it? Most people think the age of treasure hunts is over, that the gold rush, the great discoveries, the untold fortunes, all belong to history. But the truth is, history has a way of hiding in plain sight, and sometimes it hides in the smallest corner of your life. The story of the 2018 Lincoln penny with the Denver Mint mark begins not with grandeur, but with a mistake, a flaw, an accident so subtle most eyes will miss it. The mint, trusted for its perfection, sometimes betrays its own promise. And when that happens, the smallest slip of metal can rewrite a person's destiny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a riddle. Imagine rows of brand new pennies pouring out of machines, polished, perfect, meant for millions of hands. But in that sea of sameness, a few carried scars, die cracks, doubled images, misplaced mint marks, errors, tiny ghosts frozen in the metal, unnoticed until someone sharp had pulled one from circulation and realized, this isn't a penny. This is a fortune disguised as pocket change. Now, stop for a second. Ask yourself, how many times have you let pennies slip through your fingers? Left them in a jar, a drawer, the console of your car? What if the one coin that could change your life was sitting there right now, waiting, but you've ignored it because it looked too ordinary? That is the cruel trick of the 2018D. It hides its value behind disguise. There was a man, an everyday worker, no different from you, who once discovered one of these rare errors mixed with a pile of coins he almost spent on coffee. He thought it was worth nothing. But when he took a closer look, when he showed it to an appraiser, his entire life tilted. That coin, pulled from obscurity, was valued at hundreds of thousands of dollars. 1 cent transformed into generational wealth. And here's the most haunting part. For every story like his, there are thousands who missed their chance, people who unknowingly spent theirs. Imagine paying for gas, sliding that coin across the counter, and walking away, while the clerk holds a ticket to a house, a retirement fund, freedom. That fear of losing your miracle without knowing is why you cannot afford to ignore this. So how do you spot it? Look closely at every 2018 penny with the tiny D beneath the date. Under certain errors, the Lincoln profile shows doubling round the letters in Liberty or the words in God We Trust. Some reveal cracks running across the coin's surface, tiny lightning bolts in the metal. Others show the mint mark itself pressed at an odd angle. They look like accidents, imperfections, but in the world of coins, imperfection is power. Do not make the mistake of cleaning the coin. Do not rush to sell it for a fraction of its worth. Handle it gently, store it carefully, and have it appraised by experts who know what they're seeing. Because the difference between pocket change and life change is knowledge. And right now, knowledge is on your side. Think of this moment as a crossroads. You could close this video, walk away, and continue treating pennies like worthless scraps. Or you could start looking at the coins already in your home, at the ones you've carried for years. Because somewhere in America, Someone is about to stumble across a 2018 Lincoln penny that will rewrite their story. The only question is, will it be you? Right now, this exact coin, when struck with its rare error, is worth up to $312,000, 1 cent, into a fortune, and it could be resting quietly, waiting in your pocket this very second.